Hi, also. So to continue on with our discussion in regards to self-awareness and focus on our overall health and well-being, specifically looking at our physical component of health and the condition of our body, we're going to get into the topic of nutrition over the next couple of days here, or the next couple of health classes per se. And that's going to relate again to us having a better understanding of ourselves and being self-aware of what we're taking into our bodies, along with how it's going to support our well-being and how we function properly. So, with the topic of nutrition, we need to first start off looking at the factors or things that we need to take in order to survive. Of course, there's a number of things that we need to do to survive, but what are the things that we need to take in throughout our days to survive? And when we discuss or look at those and you think about them a little bit, the first thing that may come to your mind is, of course, food. We need to take in food in order to survive. Now, unfortunately, we do take in foods at times that aren't really foods or don't give us the proper things we need in foods. And there are foods that we do take in that are going to support our survival. And that's one of the things that we're going to focus on here. But along with food, there's four other things that we need to survive. And I'd like to think that the next one that comes to your mind is, of course, water. Water is important for our survival, along with oxygen. We need to breathe in order to survive. And those three things right there allow us to survive due to the fact that they're going to give us the ability to produce energy so that we can move physically with our bodies, both internally and externally. And then, along with food, water, and oxygen, the two other things that we need to take in to survive probably aren't as familiar to you, but one is heat. That's the reason why we need shelter from the cold. We need to maintain heat because our body needs to work properly at a warm temperature. Our body runs at about 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, which is a relatively hot temperature. And if our body gets too cold, it doesn't work properly. And if our body gets too hot, it doesn't work properly. And in order for us to function properly, we need to stay warm. We need heat. And whether that heat comes from the sun or whether it comes from any other external source, we do need heat. And then lastly, the most important, and unfortunately one that most people don't think of, is pressure. Our body needs pressure. It needs to have and take in pressure to one extent or another in order to survive. The reason being is in order for us to breathe, we need a difference of air pressure. In order for food and water to get in and throughout our bodies to where it's needed, we need pressure. And we're going to get into more details on that, but pressure is actually the most important, along with heat, before oxygen, water, and food. Without heat and pressure, our body won't work properly, and therefore food, water, and oxygen would be, in fact, useful to us. And then of the three here, food, water, and oxygen, of course, is needed throughout our day. We can only survive for the short amount of time without oxygen. And then with that, water is the next in regards to most important. We can only go for a short amount of time without water. Research shows up to 6 possible days without water. And of course, that would mean you're not eating any food and or any source of water at all, not just pure drinking water. And then lastly, of course, there's food. We can survive the longest without food compared to water, oxygen, heat, and pressure. But for specifics of this class, of course, we're going to focus on food and why we take in food relative to our health and well-being. And in regards to food, again, and what is it in food that makes food support our well-being, that keeps us healthy? And that takes us to the topic of nutrients. We take in food, real food, for its nutrients. And what are nutrients? Well, nutrients are the substances that's inside of food that allows our bodies to grow and develop, function properly through the production of energy and stay healthy. And again, by healthy, as our definition we talked about at the beginning of the year, it's staying free of illness and injury. So we eat food, again, real food, to provide us with the nutrients that we need in order to do these things and keep us free from injury and illness. With that, we have 6 nutrients that are found within our food. And again, some foods, unfortunately, that people take in do not contain or contain excess amounts of one form of nutrients or another, or have artificial fillers within them, which would then not provide us with the nutrients that we actually need to survive. And of those 6 nutrients, the first one is carbohydrates. If you start thinking about what other types of nutrients we have that are related to carbohydrates, that would lend itself to the discussion or the listing of proteins, fats, or also known as lipids, vitamins, and with vitamins we have our minerals, and then lastly water. And water is one of these 6 types of nutrients that we need, and is actually on its own independently, but it could also be found within foods that we do eat. So we're going to focus over the class today and our next couple classes on these nutrients, what they do for our body, how they support our well-being and our health, keeping us free of illness or injury, and how we are intaking them and why it's important to intake them to help us. So what we're going to work on is we're going to work on defining these terms here, some being nutrients and some being related to nutrients. And I want you to fill out the Google document that's attached to the instruction assignment here. That Google document will have each of these terms listed. And with each of the terms, you're going to provide its definition. You're going to provide how it's important to your health, meaning what does it do for the body to help you stay healthy, and then provide 3 of the best sources that you can take in to support or provide you with that nutrients or that term. So for instance, if we look at carbohydrates here, I'm going to define carbohydrates. That's the first thing you do. And then second thing we're going to do is you're going to provide how it's important to your health, or what does it do for your body. And you can give us 2 things. That's why it says 2 there. Provide 2 things that it does for our body, why it's important to our health, what does it do for our body. One thing is it does and provides us with our main source of energy. And then lastly, you're going to provide food sources or best sources to intake for each of the terms. So again, related to carbohydrates, we can talk about such things as fruits or vegetables for best sources to intake to provide us with carbohydrates. So each of these terms, you're going to provide its definition, how it's important to its health, or what does it do for the body, and then best sources to intake. What foods can you intake to provide you with each one? Going through the list, you have calories, carbohydrates, proteins, fats, iron, calcium, sodium, vitamin A, D, and B, and lastly, water. Again, you're completing the Google Doc that's attached to this instructions of this assignment. Discipline's a shortcut. Do the work. If you have questions, let us know.